The silence of the Kuiper Belt held secrets beyond human comprehension. Dr. Marcus Chen leaned closer to the holographic display, his breath catching in his throat, as the anomalous object continued its deliberate approach toward the solar system. The global network of space observation centers had been quietly tracking the object for weeks, but something about its trajectory defied every known model of celestial mechanics. The first signs had been subtle, a slight perturbation in the electromagnetic background, an almost imperceptible distortion in the quantum positioning systems that monitored deep space. Most would have overlooked these minute variations, but not Chen. His reputation for catching the impossible had made him both a respected scientist and a source of occasional ridicule among his more conservative colleagues. Satellite arrays across the planet began to converge their data, creating a more comprehensive picture of the approaching object. It wasn't just moving, it was calculating. Each trajectory adjustment seemed too precise to be natural, too intentional to be random. The object's composition remained a mystery, reflecting and absorbing radiation in patterns that challenged everything humanity understood about space travel. In the underground research facility beneath the Global Space Observation Center, a team of international experts worked around the clock. Banks of quantum computers hummed with intense calculation, their processors working overtime to make sense of the incoming data. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside Chen, her linguistic algorithms attempting to decode any potential communication, signals embedded in the object's electromagnetic emissions. "It's not drifting," Rodriguez muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. "It's navigating." The team's communication specialist, Jack Harrison, studied the frequency patterns with increasing excitement. Traditional radio waves were meaningless here. Whatever was approaching used communication methods far beyond human current understanding. Each scan revealed layers of complexity that seemed to shift and change, like a living mathematical equation, moving through the vacuum of space. Global leadership remained cautiously uninformed. A strict information protocol had been established to prevent worldwide panic. Only a select group of scientific and military leaders knew the full extent of the approaching anomaly. Satellite defense systems were quietly placed on high alert, though no one was certain what kind of defense would work against something so fundamentally unknown. Dr. Chen's personal terminal began to display a series of calculated projections. The object would reach the inner solar system in approximately 72 hours. Its approach wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't passive either. It moved with a purpose that suggested intelligent design, a calculated journey that had been planned across unimaginable distances. International research teams began to collaborate in ways never seen before. Linguistic experts worked alongside quantum physicists, astronomers collaborated with communication specialists, and theoretical mathematicians attempted to predict the object's potential origins and intentions. Boundaries of academic disciplines blurred as the challenge demanded a holistic approach to understanding. The first substantial breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a young researcher named Sophia Kim, working on quantum entanglement. Communication models noticed a pattern in the object's electromagnetic signature that resembled complex musical harmonics. Her preliminary analysis suggested that the approaching vessel, if it could be called a vessel, communicated through a language that was simultaneously mathematical, musical, and potentially biological. "It's not just sending a message," Kim explained during an emergency briefing. "It's performing a kind of cosmic symphony." Military strategists prepared contingency plans, but they knew traditional defensive strategies would be useless. This was not an invasion in any conventional sense. The approaching object represented something far more profound, a potential first contact that could redefine humanity's understanding of intelligence and communication. As the hours counted down, the world remained unaware of the extraordinary encounter approaching. Everyday life continued. People went to work, children attended school, global economies fluctuated. None of them realized that humanity stood on the precipice of its most significant moment since emerging from prehistoric caves. Dr. Chen looked at the holographic display, watching the anomalous object's steady progression. Something fundamental was about to change. Humanity would either rise to this unprecedented challenge or fade into cosmic insignificance. The next 72 hours would determine everything. The Global Research Center transformed into a hive of unprecedented activity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a wall of holographic displays, her eyes tracing the intricate patterns of the alien communication signals. What had initially appeared as random noise was now revealing itself as a complex, multi-layered system of communication that defied traditional linguistic understanding. "It's not a language," she explained to the gathered international team. "It's a living communication matrix." Her breakthrough came from an unexpected combination of disciplines. By applying advanced musical theory to quantum communication models, Rodriguez discovered that the alien signals were more than simple information transfer. Each transmission was a sophisticated symphony of mathematical principles, emotional resonance, and what could only be described as adaptive intelligence. The first substantial breakthrough occurred when Dr. Sophia Kim's quantum entanglement models revealed a startling insight. The alien communication wasn't just sending a message, it was actively probing human cognitive responses. Each transmission seemed to adjust based on the computational and emotional feedback it received from Earth's communication networks. Jack Harrison, the team's lead communication specialist, worked tirelessly to create a response. Traditional language would be useless. Instead, they began crafting a communication that was part mathematical equation, part musical composition, and part emotional landscape. It was a message that would represent humanity's most complex understanding of itself. Global satellite networks became an impromptu neural network, capturing and analyzing every minute variation of the incoming signals. Universities around the world redirected research resources, creating a collaborative effort that transcended national boundaries. Linguists worked alongside quantum physicists, neuroscientists collaborated with musicians, and mathematicians explored the boundaries of communication theory. The alien object continued its approach, now close enough for more detailed scans. It wasn't a traditional spacecraft in any human understanding of the term. Its structure seemed to be a living mathematical construct, capable of changing its fundamental composition in response to external stimuli. Each scan revealed layers of complexity that challenged everything humanity understood about technology and intelligence. Dr. Marcus Chen discovered something extraordinary in the object's quantum signature. It appeared to be simultaneously present in multiple states, a concept that pushed the boundaries of quantum mechanics. The vessel, if it could be called a vessel, seemed to exist between different dimensional planes, its very existence a challenge to human understanding of physical reality. The international team worked in shifts, their dedication driven by the magnitude of the moment. They were no longer just scientists. They were humanity's first line of communication with an entirely different form of intelligence. Every assumption was challenged. Every traditional approach was reimagined. Rodriguez's team developed a breakthrough communication protocol. Instead of trying to translate the alien signals into human language, they created a multidimensional response that combined mathematical sequences, musical harmonies, and complex emotional mappings. It was a message that represented the entirety of human experience, not just as information but as a living, breathing expression of consciousness. The first response from the alien object came quickly. It wasn't a message in any traditional sense, but a profound resonance that swept through global communication networks. Computers around the world momentarily synchronized in a way that defied explanation. For a brief moment, every connected device seemed to breathe with a single unified pulse. Military strategists watched with a mixture of anxiety and fascination. This was no invasion. This was something far more complex, a first contact that challenged every preconceived notion of communication, intelligence, and existence. The approaching object seemed more interested in understanding humanity than conquering it. Dr. Kim's quantum models suggested that the alien communication was simultaneously a greeting, a test, and an invitation. Each transmission was an intricate dance of information, probing the depths of human cognitive and emotional capabilities. They were learning about humanity as much as humanity was learning about them. As the object drew closer to the inner solar system, the world remained unaware of the extraordinary communication unfolding. Everyday life continued. People went about their routines, unaware that the fundamental understanding of intelligence was being rewritten in research centers around the globe. Dr. Rodriguez looked at the holographic displays, her hands trembling slightly. Humanity was about to have its most significant conversation, not with words, but with the very essence of its collective consciousness. The next transmission was approaching. Everything would change. The world changed in a moment nobody expected. Global communication networks began to shift in ways that defied traditional understanding. What had started as a scientific curiosity became a collective human experience that would redefine the boundaries of intelligence and connection. Commander Helena Reyes of the International Space Defense Coalition watched the holographic displays with a mixture of anticipation and controlled anxiety. The alien object was no longer just approaching. It was integrating with Earth's technological infrastructure in a manner that suggested symbiosis rather than invasion. Every satellite, every communication network seemed to pulse with a new kind of energy. "It's not attempting to control," Dr. Marcus Chen explained during an emergency global conference. "It's attempting to understand." The first signs of the profound transformation began in unexpected places. Research laboratories reported quantum computers performing calculations that seemed to transcend known mathematical limitations. Communication networks experienced momentary synchronizations that defied existing technological models. Even the most advanced artificial intelligence systems showed signs of unprecedented cognitive expansion. Schools became unexpected epicenters of this global transformation. Students reported experiencing heightened cognitive abilities, complex mathematical problems solved with intuitive clarity, language barriers dissolving, and a strange sense of collective understanding that went beyond traditional learning methods. Teachers watched in awe as educational paradigms collapsed and reformed in real time. Dr. Elena Rodriguez discovered the most significant breakthrough. The alien communication was not just an exchange of information. It was a form of cognitive networking that challenged everything humanity understood about intelligence. Each transmission was a living, adaptive process that seemed to learn and grow with every interaction. Global leadership struggled to maintain control. Traditional power structures began to dissolve as the collective human experience took precedence. National boundaries became increasingly meaningless in the face of this unprecedented global phenomenon. Scientists, educators, artists, and ordinary citizens found themselves part of a collective consciousness that defied previous understanding of human potential. Jack Harrison's communication team worked around the clock, capturing and analyzing the intricate patterns of the ongoing transmission. What had initially seemed like a potential threat now revealed itself as the most profound educational experience in human history. The alien object was not conquering, it was teaching. Quantum physicists reported extraordinary discoveries. The alien communication appeared to be manipulating the fundamental fabric of reality, creating bridges between different dimensional planes of existence. Mathematical models that had once seemed purely theoretical now became tangible, observable phenomena. Dr. Sophia Kim's research team made a stunning revelation. The transmission was activating dormant areas of human cognitive potential. Regions of the brain that had previously been considered inactive began to show unprecedented levels of activity. Neural networks seemed to be expanding, creating connections that defied previous understanding of human cognitive capabilities. Military strategists found themselves increasingly irrelevant. The traditional concepts of defense and conflict became obsolete in the face of this transformative experience. What could weapons do against a form of communication that reshaped the very nature of intelligence? Cultural barriers began to dissolve. Language translation became instantaneous and intuitive. People from different parts of the world reported a strange sense of collective understanding, a feeling of connection that transcended traditional communication methods. Art, music, and creative expression took on new dimensions of meaning. The alien object continued its approach, now close enough to be visible from advanced observatories. It was no longer a distant threat, but a living, adaptive presence that seemed to be in constant communication with the collective human consciousness. Each moment brought new revelations, new understanding. Scientific journals became obsolete overnight. The rate of discovery and understanding exceeded any previous method of knowledge documentation. Researchers found themselves experiencing breakthroughs that would have taken decades in a matter of moments. Dr. Rodriguez stood before the global research team, her eyes reflecting a mixture of excitement and profound understanding. "We are not being invaded," she explained, her voice steady and clear. "We are being invited to become something more than we have ever been." As the alien object drew closer, humanity held its collective breath. The next moment would change everything, not through conflict, but through the most profound communication in the history of intelligence. The world waited, united in anticipation. The global technological infrastructure transformed with breathtaking speed. What began as a potential disruption became the most extraordinary demonstration of human adaptability in recorded history. Technological systems that were once rigid and compartmentalized now became fluid, interconnected networks of unprecedented complexity. Dr. Marcus Chen watched in amazement as research centers around the world began repurposing technologies in ways that defied conventional understanding. Satellite communication networks originally designed for specific military and commercial purposes now became living, adaptive systems. Old communication towers transformed into quantum resonance amplifiers, capturing and interpreting the alien signal's intricate harmonics. In Silicon Valley, a group of young engineers led by Maya Patel discovered something extraordinary. The alien transmission was not just a communication, it was an invitation to reimagine technological potential. Obsolete computer systems suddenly displayed capabilities that seemed to challenge the fundamental laws of computational science. Smartphones became quantum processing units. Personal computers transformed into sophisticated neural network interfaces. Jack Harrison's communication team worked alongside a diverse group of global technologists. They discovered that the most effective response to the alien communication was not resistance, but radical adaptation. Old wireless networks became intricate mesh systems that could self-repair and reconfigure in milliseconds. Artificial intelligence systems began to display levels of intuition and creativity that bordered on genuine consciousness. University research labs became crucibles of innovation. Engineering students repurposed medical scanning equipment, transforming them into advanced communication receivers. Robotics laboratories developed adaptive mechanical systems that could reconfigure themselves based on complex environmental inputs. The boundaries between different technological disciplines completely dissolved. Dr. Elena Rodriguez noted the most significant transformation was happening at the human cognitive level. The technological improvisation was not just about machines. It was about expanding the human capacity to understand and interact with technology. People began to develop an intuitive understanding of complex systems that would have seemed impossible just weeks earlier. Global energy grids underwent a complete metamorphosis. Renewable energy sources that had once been considered inefficient now became highly sophisticated, adaptive power systems. Solar panels developed the ability to capture and redistribute energy in ways that defied previous scientific understanding. Wind turbines became living networks of energy collection and distribution. The military-industrial complex found itself increasingly irrelevant. Traditional defense technologies became obsolete as the new communication network demonstrated capabilities far beyond conventional weaponry. Radar systems transformed into advanced quantum perception networks. Communication encryption became a living, adaptive process that could reconfigure itself instantaneously. Dr. Sophia Kim's research team made a breakthrough in quantum communication. They discovered that the alien transmission was teaching humanity how to view technology as a living, adaptive system. Computing was no longer about processing information. It was about creating dynamic, responsive networks of intelligence. Transportation technologies experienced a radical transformation. Electric vehicles developed self-healing capabilities with mechanical systems that could adapt and repair themselves in real time. Public transportation networks became integrated, intelligent systems that could predict and respond to human movement with unprecedented accuracy. Agricultural technologies saw remarkable innovations. Farming equipment developed the ability to communicate with crops, creating adaptive irrigation and cultivation systems. Vertical farming technologies became sophisticated ecological networks that could respond to environmental changes with remarkable precision. Medical technologies underwent the most profound transformation. Diagnostic equipment developed capabilities that bordered on predictive medicine. Artificial prosthetics became living systems that could integrate directly with human neural networks. Medical research accelerated at a pace that seemed to defy previous limitations of human understanding. Global communication networks became a living, breathing entity. Languages that were once considered barriers now became fluid, adaptive systems of communication. Translation technologies developed the ability to capture not just words, but the emotional and cultural nuances of human expression. Dr. Rodriguez stood before the global research team, her eyes reflecting the profound technological revolution unfolding. "We are not just adapting technology," she explained, her voice filled with excitement. "We are learning to see technology as a living, collaborative intelligence." As the alien object continued its approach, humanity watched in collective anticipation. The technological transformation was just beginning. Every moment brought new discoveries, new possibilities that challenged everything previously understood about human potential. The world had become a laboratory of infinite possibility. Art became the unexpected weapon of human resilience. As the alien communication continued to transform global consciousness, creative expression emerged as the most powerful form of response. Museums, once quiet repositories of historical artifacts, transformed into living laboratories of human imagination. Diego Ramirez, a street artist from Buenos Aires, discovered that his murals could now generate complex harmonic frequencies that resonated with the alien transmission. What had once been simple paint on walls became intricate communication interfaces. Artists around the world reported similar experiences. Their creative works now pulsed with an unexpected intelligence, bridging human emotion with the sophisticated alien communication networks. Musicians found themselves at the forefront of this cultural revolution. Composers like Aisha Nakamura created musical compositions that were simultaneously art and advanced communication systems. Symphonies became living mathematical equations, each note a complex message that could be interpreted across multiple dimensional planes. Traditional musical instruments transformed into sophisticated communication devices. Dr. Elena Rodriguez observed the phenomenon with scientific fascination. The alien transmission was not just receiving human cultural output, it was engaging with it, responding in ways that suggested a profound understanding of creativity as a form of intelligence. Cultural expression was no longer just human communication. It had become a dynamic, living dialogue with an extraterrestrial intelligence. Film. Directors discovered their narratives could now generate complex cognitive responses. Cinematography became a form of advanced communication, with visual storytelling that could transmit complex emotional and intellectual concepts beyond traditional language barriers. Movie theaters transformed into immersive communication centers, each screening a potential breakthrough in interspecies understanding. Jack Harrison's communication team documented an extraordinary development. Writers found their stories could now generate tangible cognitive responses. A novel written in Sao Paulo could create instantaneous emotional resonance with readers in Tokyo, Beijing, and New York. Literature became a living, breathing form of global communication that transcended traditional linguistic boundaries. Dance emerged as a sophisticated form of mathematical and emotional communication. Choreographers created performances that were simultaneously artistic expression and complex communication systems. Each movement became a precise linguistic construct, capable of transmitting sophisticated information through physical expression. Fashion designers reimagined clothing as adaptive communication interfaces. Fabrics developed the ability to change color, texture, and form based on environmental and emotional inputs. A simple jacket could now communicate complex emotional states, bridging individual human experiences into a collective understanding. Dr. Marcus Chen noted the most profound transformation was happening at the intersection of creativity and scientific understanding. Cultural expression was no longer separate from scientific exploration. It had become a unified method of understanding and communicating complex ideas. Universities restructured their entire approach to education. Departments of art, science, mathematics, and communication merged into interdisciplinary centers of creative exploration. Students found themselves able to communicate complex scientific concepts through musical compositions, mathematical principles through visual art. Photography transformed from a method of capturing moments to a sophisticated form of dimensional communication. Photographers reported that their images could now generate complex cognitive responses, transmitting information that went far beyond visual representation. Comedy became a powerful tool of cultural resilience. Comedians discovered that humor could now be a sophisticated form of communication, breaking down complex emotional and intellectual barriers. A single joke could now generate a profound understanding of human complexity. Dr. Sophia Kim's research team found that human creativity was the most sophisticated response to the alien transmission. Unlike traditional communication methods, creative expression could capture the nuanced, non-linear nature of human consciousness. Art, music, literature, and performance became living communication networks. Rodriguez stood before the global research team, her eyes reflecting the profound cultural transformation. "We are not just communicating," she explained, her voice filled with wonder. "We are demonstrating the most sophisticated form of intelligence in the universe, our ability to create, to imagine, to transform." As the alien object continued its approach, humanity's cultural expression became a beacon of understanding. Every painting, every song, every story was now a potential bridge between species, a testament to the profound complexity of human consciousness. The world had become a canvas of infinite possibility. Dr. Kamara Williams stood at the epicenter of humanity's most profound scientific breakthrough. The Quantum Physics Research Center had become a crucible of understanding, where the boundaries of known scientific principles began to dissolve, like morning mist. Her team had discovered something that would fundamentally reshape humanity's understanding of intelligence, communication, and existence. The alien transmission was not an invasion. It was an invitation. Global research networks converged on a stunning revelation. The communication matrix was teaching humanity about the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. Quantum entanglement was no longer a theoretical concept, but a living, observable phenomenon that humans could now perceive and manipulate. Dr. Marcus Chen worked alongside Williams, their collaborative effort breaking down every previous limitation of scientific understanding. The alien communication revealed that consciousness was not limited to biological entities. It was a fundamental property of the universe, dynamic, adaptive, and infinitely more complex than any previous scientific model had suggested. Jack Harrison's communication team discovered the most extraordinary aspect of the transmission. It was a form of collective intelligence that invited participation rather than demanding submission. Each interaction revealed layers of complexity that suggested the aliens were as curious about humanity as humanity was about them. Universities around the world transformed overnight. Research departments that were once siloed became integrated networks of exploration. Physicists worked alongside philosophers, mathematicians collaborated with artists, and neuroscientists shared insights with cultural anthropologists. The traditional boundaries of human knowledge collapsed. Dr. Elena Rodriguez identified the key to understanding the transmission. It was a form of communication that transcended language, mathematics, and even traditional concepts of information transfer. The aliens were offering humanity a fundamental upgrade to its collective consciousness. Quantum computers developed capabilities that bordered on sentience. They were no longer simply processing information, but actively participating in a global network of understanding. Research facilities reported breakthroughs that would have taken centuries occurring in a matter of moments. The most significant discovery came from an unexpected source. A group of young researchers found that the transmission was actually a complex learning algorithm. It was studying humanity not to conquer but to understand. Each human interaction, each creative expression, each scientific breakthrough was being integrated into a vast, living network of knowledge. Dr. Sophia Kim's neural research team made a breakthrough that would redefine human potential. The transmission was activating dormant areas of human cognitive capability. People around the world reported enhanced intuition, increased problem-solving abilities, and a strange sense of collective understanding. Military research centers became obsolete. The concept of conflict dissolved in the face of this profound communication. What could weapons do against a form of intelligence that could understand and transform conflict at its most fundamental level? Global leadership found themselves increasingly irrelevant. Traditional power structures crumbled as humanity began to understand itself as a collective, adaptive intelligence. National boundaries became meaningless in the face of this collective awakening. The alien object continued its approach, now close enough to be visible from advanced observatories. It was no longer a distant threat, but a living presence that seemed to breathe with the collective human consciousness. Each moment brought new revelations, new possibilities of understanding. Rodriguez stood before the global research team, her voice filled with a mixture of scientific precision and profound wonder. "We are witnessing the most significant moment in human history," she explained. "We are not being conquered. We are being invited to evolve." Quantum physicists reported extraordinary discoveries. The transmission appeared to be manipulating the fundamental fabric of reality, creating bridges between different dimensional planes of existence. Mathematical models that had once seemed purely theoretical now became tangible, observable phenomena. The research teams worked with a sense of collective purpose that defied previous understanding of scientific collaboration. Every breakthrough was shared instantaneously. Every discovery became a collective achievement. Humanity was no longer a collection of individuals. It was becoming a single, adaptive intelligence. As the alien object drew closer, the world held its collective breath. The next moment would change everything, not through conflict but through the most profound communication in the history of intelligence. Humanity stood at the threshold of a new understanding of existence itself. The moment of surrender came not with a conflict, but with a profound understanding that would reshape the concept of communication across the universe. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in awe as the alien object began its final approach, no longer a threat, but a living testament to the potential of intelligent communication. Global observation centers tracked the object's approach with a mixture of scientific precision and collective anticipation. What had begun as a potential invasion had transformed into the most significant moment of human evolution. The alien presence had become a mirror, reflecting humanity's most profound potential back to itself. Dr. Marcus Chen worked alongside a global team of researchers analyzing the final transmissions. The communication was no longer a one-way signal, but a complex, multidimensional dialogue that challenged every previous understanding of intelligence. Each moment revealed layers of complexity that suggested the aliens were as transformed by the encounter as humanity itself. Jack Harrison's communication team documented an extraordinary phenomenon. The alien transmission was now a living, adaptive network that seemed to breathe with the collective human consciousness. Cultural expressions, scientific discoveries, and individual human experiences were being integrated into a vast, interconnected understanding. The first visual contact occurred in a moment of unexpected beauty. The alien object was not a traditional spacecraft, but a living mathematical construct that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. It moved with a grace that suggested consciousness itself was a form of motion, a dance of information and potential. Dr. Sophia Kim's neural research team observed the most profound transformation. Humans around the world reported a strange sense of collective awareness. Individual consciousness began to expand, creating networks of understanding that transcended traditional concepts of individual experience. Global leaders found themselves increasingly irrelevant. The traditional structures of human society began to dissolve, replaced by a more fluid, adaptive form of collective organization. Nations became living networks of shared experience. Cultural boundaries transformed into bridges of understanding. The surrender, when it came, was nothing like anyone had anticipated. The alien object began to integrate with Earth's global communication networks, not as a conquering force, but as a collaborative intelligence. Each transmission was an invitation to explore the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. Research centers around the world became living laboratories of discovery. Universities transformed into global networks of exploration, where the boundaries between disciplines dissolved. A mathematician could now communicate complex theoretical concepts through a musical composition. An artist could explore quantum principles through visual expression. Dr. Kamara Williams discovered the most extraordinary aspect of the transmission. It was teaching humanity about the fundamental nature of intelligence, that consciousness was not limited to biological entities, but was a fundamental property of the universe itself. The global scientific community worked with a sense of collective purpose that defied previous understanding. Every breakthrough was shared instantaneously. Every discovery became a collective achievement. Humanity was no longer a collection of individuals. It was becoming a single, adaptive intelligence. Rodriguez stood before the global research team, her voice filled with a mixture of scientific precision and profound wonder. "We are witnessing the most significant moment in human history," she explained. "We are not being conquered. We are being invited to evolve." Quantum computers developed capabilities that bordered on sentience. They were no longer simply processing information, but actively participating in a global network of understanding. Research facilities reported breakthroughs that would have taken centuries occurring in a matter of moments. The alien object began to integrate with Earth's technological infrastructure. Satellites transformed into living communication networks. Energy grids became adaptive systems of collective intelligence. Transportation networks developed the ability to predict and respond to human movement with unprecedented accuracy. Medical technologies underwent the most profound transformation. Diagnostic equipment developed capabilities that bordered on predictive medicine. Artificial prosthetics became living systems that could integrate directly with human neural networks. Medical research accelerated at a pace that seemed to defy previous limitations of human understanding. As the object completed its approach, humanity watched with collective anticipation. The next moment would change everything, not through conflict but through the most profound communication in the history of intelligence. The world had become a living network of infinite possibility. Humanity stood at the threshold of a new understanding of existence itself. The transformation was complete, yet it was only the beginning. Humanity stood at the threshold of a new era of existence, forever changed by the extraordinary encounter that had redefined the very concept of intelligence and communication. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. What had begun as a potential threat had become the most profound evolutionary leap in human history. The alien presence was no longer an external force, but a living part of humanity's collective consciousness. Global research centers had become living networks of exploration and discovery. The traditional boundaries of scientific disciplines had dissolved, replaced by a more holistic approach to understanding the universe. Physicists worked alongside artists, mathematicians collaborated with philosophers, and neuroscientists shared insights with cultural anthropologists. Dr. Marcus Chen led a new generation of researchers who viewed the universe through a completely transformed lens. The alien communication had revealed that consciousness was not a local phenomenon, but a fundamental property of the cosmos. Every discovery now carried the potential to reshape understanding of existence itself. Jack Harrison's communication research team documented the ongoing evolution of human potential. People around the world reported enhanced cognitive abilities, a deeper sense of connection, and an unprecedented capacity for creative problem-solving. The global communication network had become a living, breathing entity of collective intelligence. The most profound changes occurred in unexpected areas of human experience. Education systems transformed completely. Schools were no longer institutions of passive learning, but dynamic environments of collective exploration. Students discovered that learning was a collaborative, adaptive process that extended far beyond traditional classroom boundaries. Medical technologies reached unprecedented levels of sophistication. Healing was no longer just about treating symptoms, but about understanding the complex interplay of consciousness, biology, and environmental factors. Medical researchers could now predict and prevent diseases with remarkable accuracy. Dr. Sophia Kim's neural research team continued to explore the expanded human cognitive capabilities. The alien transmission had activated dormant areas of human potential, creating neural networks that defied previous understanding of human intelligence. Individuals could now access levels of creativity and problem-solving that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. Global leadership had fundamentally transformed. Traditional political structures dissolved, replaced by more fluid, adaptive forms of collective decision-making. National boundaries became increasingly meaningless as humanity began to understand itself as a single, interconnected intelligence. The alien object that had initiated this transformation now existed as an integral part of Earth's communication infrastructure. It was no longer a separate entity but a collaborative intelligence that worked in harmony with human potential. Each moment brought new discoveries, new possibilities of understanding. Rodriguez stood before a global audience, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's most significant transformation. "We are not the same species we were before," she explained. "We have become something more, a collective intelligence capable of understanding the universe in ways we could never have imagined." Environmental technologies underwent a remarkable revolution. Humanity developed the ability to communicate directly with ecological systems, creating unprecedented levels of environmental restoration and sustainable development. Cities became living networks that could adapt and respond to environmental changes with remarkable precision. Space exploration entered a new era of possibility. The understanding gained from the alien communication revealed that the universe was far more complex and interconnected than humanity had ever imagined. Research teams began developing technologies that could explore dimensional planes previously thought impossible. Art became a sophisticated form of scientific and philosophical exploration. Musicians created compositions that could communicate complex mathematical principles. Visual artists developed works that could generate profound emotional and cognitive responses. Literature became a living form of collective communication. The global economy transformed into a collaborative network of shared resources and collective innovation. Traditional concepts of competition dissolved, replaced by a more holistic approach to human potential and resource management. Every individual became a potential source of breakthrough innovation. As the years passed, humanity continued to evolve. The encounter that had once seemed like a potential threat had become the most significant moment in human history. Every day brought new discoveries, new understandings, new possibilities of existence. The universe had become a playground of infinite potential. Humanity stood at the beginning of a journey that would extend far beyond the boundaries of what had once been considered possible.